be bringing the target out under fire. And definitely don't want a slug in your back.
No way. Not neither.
Cyberpunk 2077. Looks like 2020 got to you as well, my friend. What's up, guys? Veteran Gamer here. And today's review is none other than Cyberpunk 2077. I want to take a moment here and say that this review is probably the hardest review I've ever had to do. No question. Before I get into the specificities of it, I want to address the drama regarding this particular game. First of all, this game is no Grand Theft Auto, no Red Dead Redemption. This game was released on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 technically, Xbox One, Xbox Series X technically, and PC. I want to make this clear that there is, at this point of this review, no PlayStation 5 version or Xbox Series X version, officially speaking. You are playing the PlayStation 4 version on PlayStation 5, and the same thing with the Xbox, via backwards compatibility. This review is the PlayStation 4 version running on PlayStation 5. This needs to be said, as this game plays completely different from PS4 to PS5, and even from the consoles in general to its PC counterpart. This review is specific to my experience playing the game on PlayStation 5. I am aware of the issues regarding the older console versions, and I am aware of the issues regarding the PC version of the game. But at the end of the day, this review is specifically for PS5, playing the PS4 version running backwards compatibility. I also deliberately left some side missions untouched for this review, as I await the free next-gen upgrade that is allegedly coming to 2021, although I wouldn't be surprised if that gets pushed to 2022. With all of that being said, there is somewhat of a performance difference between the PS4 version and a PS5 version, namely the fact that the resolution is locked at just above 1080p. It never drops, and the game does run at a pretty solid 60 frames per second. There is no mode to choose from, at least on PlayStation. You are stuck with the performance, and I'll be honest with you, when I bought the game, I thought I was going to be playing it at 30 frames because I knew it was the PS4 version. I was actually surprised I got 60 out of it, so that's probably a good start, but we'll see what the issues are as we get further into this video. After choosing your life path in Cyberpunk, which, to be honest, your life path is pretty much irrelevant, as the only difference between life path choices is your first opening mission and some dialogue choices. How it impacts the overall story of the game is basically non-existent, and by the time you finish it, it will mean nothing. That being said, after you select it, you enter the game's character creator. This character creator is probably one of the most in-depth character creators I have ever put together. When I went through the options, I was surprised. I was so surprised that you even can adjust your private parts for your character. You could be a male with a female private, and vice versa, female, male private, and even as far as going to different sizes of private parts, I guess. It's very deep and very detailed. But once you're finished making your character, make sure that you are happy with it. Because once you leave the game's initial character creator, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot adjust your character afterwards. Your tattoos, your cybernetics, your hair, all that stuff, it's a one-way ticket. And considering that this is an open world game, this is actually very, very disappointing that a game this deep and a creator this detailed is a one-way ticket, that I can't go throughout and adjust, my character afterwards. Especially since you're in the world of Cyberpunk, and augmentation with the cyberware is a big factor to it. You would think you could do more even afterwards, but no. So just be mindful that although it is a very deep creator, it is a one-way ticket, and be sure you're happy with your character when you finish. After you finish with your character creator, and you're now actually into the main game itself, one of the things that has been a hot topic, more so on the console versions, is the graphics. Now, I don't know what people are saying. I don't know what they're looking at. Maybe they gotta get their eyes checked. I think Cyberpunk 2077 is a gorgeous looking game. Yes, the non-important NPCs don't look as good as the main characters or as animated as the main characters, but from a visual standpoint, it's amazing. I was in awe the entire time I played it. The atmosphere is terrific. You really do get a sense that you are in a different world in the future, and it's just incredible. The story and the side quests throughout this game, the main side quests, there are some side quests that are like meant just for money, and other side quests they are side quests, but they don't really impact the ending of the game. So there is like your main story and then important side quests that deal with specific NPCs. Those are fantastic. I found the main story to be really good. I found the side missions. I was addicted to doing side missions because the characters that you have with you are just, it's just great. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to say which way things go, but just know that when you play through the main story, through your dialogue options, that your ending will depend on what you did, not only with the main story, but with the side missions. Through my 35-hour playthrough, I had 3 ending options at my disposal, 2 of which were completely different from one another. So, and again, as I stated earlier in the video, I did leave side things open to revisit once the official PS5 version comes. But yeah, it was really good. I thought the voice acting was really good. Keanu Reeves is great. Like, who doesn't like Keanu Reeves? Like, let's be honest. The city, driving around the city was great. No matter day, night, you can see it on screen. It's an amazing thing to see. And I was just blown away. Everything about it, from a visual standpoint, is incredible.
Stop digging Night City. City like any other, just bigger.
Nah, mano. Not just any other city. Morgan Blackhand, Andrew Wayland, Adam Smasher. Legends are born here.
As you can see, the dialogue is just absolutely terrific. The writing is good, but not everything is shiny, if you will, in Night City. This game has a lot of baggage surrounding it. The crashes, my god, the crashes. I mentioned earlier my playthrough was about 35 hours. I experienced close to 30 crashes. And that's just unacceptable. I was getting about a crash every hour, and it is never acceptable, you know. I hate this mindset of, oh, you know, we'll release a game and fix it later. I'm sorry, I don't pay a portion of the price now and then the rest later. I pay full price for a working product. And these crashes were just irritating. Granted, if it wasn't for how fast I was able to get back into the game and how generous the game's autosave feature is, this would have been a major... I probably would not have finished the game if it wasn't for that. Like, the autosave feature, I was never more than 5 minutes from when my crash occurred, so I never got shafted heavily in terms of how many hours I lost. But, and then obviously the quick load times, getting back in was really quick. It doesn't change the fact that I shouldn't be experiencing that many crashes. For crying out loud, this game crashed mid-end credits. End credits. The credits were rolling. I am reading the names of the people and getting an epilogue, and the game crashes. That should not be happening, man. The other ones are, you know, there is some bugs and glitches, some of which are really entertaining and just make it fun, but it does take the immersion out of the game when you are playing and you see funny glitches. I'll show you one in a moment. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And the AI in this game is terrible. I played the game on the normal difficulty and it was very, very easy. And this game is, the AI is just dumb. Cops will spawn where you are. They don't come from a distance driving in. No, they will drop in front of you. I have seen where the cars will just stop if you park your car just slightly on the road. They don't drive around it. I mean, the AI is really, really dumb. I mean, just look at this glitch right here. It's funny, but yeah, like it really breaks the immersion. So like this is what you have in store when I talk about glitches. Some of it's entertaining, but some of it just really just takes you out of the immersion, and it's definitely worth noting. One of the other things about this game is that it's supposed to be an RPG. That's what, CD Projekt Red has talked about. It's supposed to be an RPG. But the gear stats are ridiculously basic. The only numbers that would really matter is your damage per second on your weapons and your armor rating on your clothing. Other than that, it is irrelevant. The RPG elements in terms of your gear is very, very, very basic. The other issue with the RPG side of things is the progression and economy. So you have your skill trees across 5 categories, multiple perks in each category. The problem is, majority of these perks that you go through will be like, hey, we're going to increase, your armor by like 5%. It's all stat-based upgrades. You don't learn any new abilities for the most part through your perks. And therefore, it kind of makes the leveling system like bland, and because it's so slow, unless you do excessive grinding, you are not going to reach nowhere near the level cap before you finish the main story. And the issue is even when you do, the amount of perk points you get, like you won't even, like you'd be lucky to fill out 1 tree. So, and the other issue with this is other games will allow you to respec your character. This game, you can respec, but it costs $100,000 of in-game currency. 100,000. Where everything else is expensive in the game. You want a car, it's expensive. You want to do cyberware, it's expensive. And unless you do a lot of side jobs, or if you performed the duplication glitch, I know people have done that, and infinite money glitch, things like that, you will have a hard time upgrading your character. Everything is ridiculously expensive. And although I prefer to avoid spoilers, this is kind of like a heads up. One of the missions in this game requires you to spend $15,000. Just so you know. So if you don't want to do an excessive grind when you reach that mission, make sure you got 15K in your account, and when that mission comes out, you can just pay it and then move on with the main story if that's your fancy. But the economy and the progression is slow. There's no real way to max it out, and the money is just ridiculous. It comes, unless you do excessive side missions or gigs, which I do recommend you doing, it's the only way to make money. Crafting, similar issue. Like the materials that you require, like you have to do a lot of dismantling to get the materials unless you're doing a glitch. And the issue with that is if you're dismantling a lot of things, you're not making a lot of money at the same time. And that's where you choose, right? Do you want to make money or do you want to do crafting, right? So if you get your crafting high enough, you could craft good things. I went the money route. I just sold everything, made money, was able to get, certain cyberware items. And again, I managed to get the Akira bike, which was like 22K. There is just a lot of things in Cyberpunk that are expensive, and just be grateful that the story and characters is really good to the point where you don't really notice the slow RPG progression of this game. In all of this, how do I feel about Cyberpunk 2077? Can I recommend Cyberpunk 2077? Well, this game has been most definitely the hardest game I have ever had to score. I want to make this crystal clear. I enjoyed my time with Cyberpunk 2077. I loved Night City. I liked the gameplay. I liked the story. Everything about it, aside from the technical issues, I enjoyed. Yes, the lack of character customization outside of the character creator is annoying. Yes, the bugs, some of which are funny, some of which do take the immersion out, are there and entertaining. Yes, this game crashed a boatload on me. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. If all these technical issues were cleaned up, you could remove all the crashes, all the bugs, and just leave the bad progression, the dumb AI, and the inability to customize your character after you create them, and I'd still give this game like an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10, even knowing those issues persist. The problem I have is the crashes. And when you talk about a game that crashed almost every hour, it's unacceptable. I do not pay for a product that's not working. And I don't pay a portion of the price now and then the rest later when the game is actually fixed. This is my biggest gripe with this game. As a consumer, this needs to stop. I don't care. Like, I am not giving CD Projekt Red or any developer or any publisher a free pass. I throw the book at you. It is an absolute no-no. I want to make this clear. If you are thinking about getting Cyberpunk 2077, if you have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or a high-end PC, and you are a patient person that can deal with the aforementioned issues, by all means, buy this game. You're gonna have a good time. If you are an impatient person, and these bugs that I mentioned to you, these issues are going to be a problem for you, wait. If you are a PS4 player or an Xbox One player, even if you have the enhanced consoles of those platforms, wait. This game, from what I've seen and from the people that I spoke to that have played it on those platforms, it runs terrible. Sub 30 frames per second. I know Destiny got flack for running 30 frames on those consoles, but it was a locked 30 frames per second and it was passable. This, it drops below 30 frames per second on the regular, on those platforms. Factor in the longer load times, the bugs, all the other issues that I've mentioned. It is not worth it tainting this game and the experience that you could have by playing it on those platforms. On a foundational level, Cyberpunk 2077 has the potential to be Game of the Year, to be one of the best RPGs you could have ever played. I have faith that CD Projekt Red will stick with it and will fix the aforementioned issues. But it doesn't change the fact that you released a product in an incomplete / broken state. I don't care that regardless of the platform you're on, yeah, sure, it runs better on certain ones. That's not the point. This is a game, to put this into perspective, was announced 4 years before The Witcher 3 came out. Like, that's ridiculous. And again, if you're patient and you play on the newer platforms or high-end PC and you can deal with these bugs, sure, buy it. If you're on the old platforms, stay away. Unfortunately for me, and despite having an overall good experience, I can't let something like this slide. I have to throw the book at him, and I reluctantly give Cyberpunk 2077 a 5 out of 10.